Professor Bruce Jentleson, thank you very much for coming to the Krasno event series, and thank you very much for giving this interview to our 5-minute Insights series. We appreciated your talk, and we appreciate your latest book on the Peacemakers. Let me ask you, is it more difficult when you look at global history in the 20th and 21st century? Is it more difficult to be a peacemaker than a war maker?
First of all, thank you for the invitation. It's great to be here. You know, I think it's always easier to be a war maker for any number of reasons. You know, psychologists will say it's easier to appeal to people's fear than hopes. So yes, it's easier. And in fact, I got the idea for the book originally from a study that some colleagues did, in which they looked at, for example, the rise of Hitler, and they said, of course, Germany was going to be unstable after World War I, but the particular form that instability took had a heck of a lot to do with the leader that came. Same with Napoleon in the French Revolution. So I started to flip that and say, you know, what major breakthroughs that we've seen really could be attributed to crucial roles played by individual leaders that would not have been played by other people had they been in a leadership position.
Thank you. But the peacemaker sounds very much like personalities are all important. Is that correct? Do we really depend still on individual personalities to make the difference, to make peace?
No, I kind of tack away from that, too much of that, in two respects. One is I have this, what I call the 3 C's framework, where I say that there are, you know, situations, political and economic conditions can impose constraints. They can also create conducive conditions. And within those, choices are made. So there's very few things you can say would have happened that would be breakthroughs for peacemaking without some conducive conditions. But the choices are key, you know, in that respect. And then my framework for looking at the individual leaders is who, why, how, what. The who is a little bit about personality, but what's striking about a lot of the people I studied in this book is they weren't born leaders. Indeed, their leadership qualities didn't emerge in a peacemaking way until various stages of their life. And so it's not just based on personality, it's based on life experience, it's based on vision, and it's based on strategy. You can have great ideas in any walk of life, but you got to have the strategy in order to make sure that they happen.
So how does one become a constructive leader? Is it the environmental forces which shape you? Is it simply good luck that you have great leadership genes, or what is it?
Well, it's definitely not the genes. That's why I say, you know, people really emerge over time from very different roles. I was using the, you know, various kinds of examples that show us that. And some people, you know, Dag Hammarskjöld's in the book is the U.S. Secretary General, and he was just seen as your average bureaucrat, and he emerges as an amazing diplomat in the period that he was Secretary General. I think it does have to have conducive conditions, but I think in some ways it's a commitment and deep belief in what you're doing that you can convey to the people you either need to work with or have follow you, that you have authenticity, and that they should take your personal capital seriously as well, and that you have a plan of how to get to a better place for whatever the kind of breakthrough is you're trying to make.
Thank you. And when you look at all the many interesting characters you have in your book, there are multiple interesting characters, both male and female, both young and older. Who you would choose as your favorite character?
Oh, my goodness, it's always hard. I always like to draw a contrast. I have everybody in the book from major statesmen like Mikhail Gorbachev, who wasn't by himself. Reagan played a role, Pope John Paul played a role, others played a role, but really gets the principal credit for ending the Cold War. To an unknown British lawyer who founded Amnesty International in 1961, a guy by the name of Peter Benenson, who really founded the contemporary human rights movement, so it's not just about Amnesty International. To former Prime Minister of Norway, Gro Harlem Brundtland, who became a leader in global health and global sustainable development. So I kind of cut into it in a lot of different ways. I think each one represents a kind of breakthrough peacemaking that the 21st century really needs in our own kind of leaders.
Thank you. And as you know, we live in tumultuous times. When you look at your book, when you look at the insights you obtained from doing the research for your book, are there any lessons, any conclusions you can draw which may help us in the future?
Very much so. I think all of the cases show how difficult peacemaking is. A Yitzhak Rabin gets assassinated, a Gandhi gets assassinated. But it was possible. And virtually every case, like say if you'd gone to Las Vegas, you could have gotten really good odds that the breakthrough wouldn't happen, but they did. And that it's necessary. And I think that's what motivates people, is they realize we can't just get to some of the goals we have through just incremental steps. We need to move from the transactional to the transformational. And at times, we can look around the world today, and I always tell people I started this book long before Donald Trump became president. It's not in any way strictly about him, although he sure doesn't help. But we look around the world, we can get very overwhelmed by how difficult our problem is. But if we look back at others that felt that way, with their problems in the 20th century, you can get some inspiration from that.
So historical perspective is one of the lessons you want to bring across?
Very much so. Even though I have a degree in political science, I'm a closet historian. I had a historian on my PhD committee, and deeply believe that we, as it says on the National Archives, in Washington the past is prologue.
So we may have converted you to being a good historian. Professor Bruce Jentleson, thank you very much for your interview. Thank you very much for coming to UNC Chapel Hill.
Great. Enjoyed it very much. Thanks for having me.